Hey guys, welcome to my AWS DevOps Engineer Professional course. In this course, we will be exploring all of its domains, tools and workflows. My main motive to make this course is to make you ready for any DevOps related work as well as the AWS DevOps Engineer Professional exam. The AWS DevOps Engineer Professional exam is divided into 5 domains, each covering a specific area of DevOps practices and AWS tools. In this course, we will take a closer look at each domain. If you're serious about DevOps, then you will find this useful. Otherwise, you might just want to drop off from this video now. But if you are new to my channel, welcome. My name is Shupriya and I'm a mid-senior backend and DevOps engineer. And in this course, I will be demonstrating all of the 5 domains that are needed to be a DevOps Pro in AWS. Alright, let's get started. The first domain is SDLC Automation. The AWS DevOps Pro exam covers the automation of software development lifecycle or SDLC using various tools and services available on the AWS platform. This SDLC domain focuses on a number of key areas including continuous integration, continuous deployment, in short CI/CD, infrastructure as code or IaC, configuration management and monitoring and logging. Within each area, you're expected to have a solid understanding of the tools and technologies involved as well as how they can be used to streamline and automate the SDLC process on AWS. By demonstrating proficiency in these areas, you can prove that you have the ability to design, implement, and manage highly efficient and scalable DevOps process on the AWS cloud. Some of the AWS services covered in this domain include AWS Code Pipeline, Code Build, Code Deploy, AWS CloudFormation, AWS Elastic Beanstalk, AWS OpsWork, AWS Config, CloudTrail, CloudWatch, and X-Ray. The next domain in this course is configuration management and infrastructure as code. In this domain, you focus on configuration management and infrastructure as code practices that enables you to manage any infrastructure and application configurations programmatically. This domain covers a number of key areas including implementing IaC practices, managing configuration drift, automating infrastructure management, and performing infrastructure testing. Configuration drift is when configuration of an environment gradually changes and it is no longer consistent with the organization's requirement. Configuration drift only happens when changes to any software or hardware are made ad hoc, that means without being recorded or tracked. In a typical DevOps job, you are expected to have a solid understanding of how these practices can be used to streamline and automate the management of infrastructure and application configuration on the AWS platform. Some of the AWS services covered in this domain includes AWS CloudFormation, AWS System Manager, AWS Elastic Beanstalk, AWS OpsWork, and AWS App Config. The next domain in this course is Resilient Cloud Solution. In this part, we will be focusing mainly on implementing highly available and scalable solutions that meet the resilience and business requirement on the AWS platform. This domain covers a number of key areas including implementing multi-availability zones and multi-region deployments, replication, and failover methods, load balancing, and automated recovery process to meet the RTO and RPO requirements of any organization. As a DevOps engineer, you're expected to have a deeper understanding of how to implement any scalable solution with appropriate metrics for scaling services, serverless architectures, and container platforms, as well as the ability to design, implement the disaster recovery concepts like backup and recovery strategies and load balancer configurations. We will also be covering some of the AWS services such as Amazon DynamoDB, RDS, Route 53, S3, AWS Backup, CloudFront, ECS, EKS, AWS Lambda, and lastly AWS System Manager. The next domain in this course is monitoring and logging. The AWS DevOps Pro exam heavily focuses on monitoring and logging. This domain covers a number of key areas including storing, managing, auditing, and monitoring logs. In addition to it, it also covers how to analyze logs and metrics to detect issues. You are expected to have a deeper understanding of how these practices can be used to monitor and event management of any complex environment to optimize the performance and reliability of the AWS applications. Some of the AWS services covered in this domain include CloudWatch, AWS KMS, Amazon Kinesis, Data Firehose, Amazon Athena, and Lambda. The next domain is incident and event response. In this domain, we will be covering the incident and event response practices that will enable you to quickly detect and respond to issues and outages. We'll focus on a number of key areas including designing for failure and fault tolerance, responding to incidents and events, disaster recovery and business continuity planning, and performing root cause analysis. You are expected to have a solid understanding of these practices that can be used to minimize downtime, reduce the impact of outages, and restore normal operations as quickly as possible. Some of the AWS services covered in this domain includes CloudWatch, AWS System Manager, Elastic Load Balancer, AWS Autoscaling, AWS Backup, S3 Glacier, AWS Disaster Recovery. The next and final domain is security and compliance. This domain covers implementing techniques for identity and access management, applying automation for security controls and data protection, and implementing security monitoring and auditing solutions on AWS. Again, you are expected to have a solid understanding of how to design policies for least privilege access, automate the application for security controls, use security auditing services like CloudTrail and GuardDuty to identify security vulnerabilities and events. Some of the services covered in this domain includes AWS Security Token Service, AWS Certificate Manager, AWS WAF, AWS Config, AWS Control Tower, AWS Macie, and AWS KMS. In conclusion, in this AWS DevOps Engineer course, we will be covering a wide range of topics related to AWS DevOps practices and AWS solutions. This course is also designed for AWS DevOps Pro exam as well, as I discussed earlier. This course will improve your ability to design, implement, and manage DevOps practices on the AWS platform, which is kind of an essential skill for anyone who is trying to build applications and for the organizations that are heavily reliant on AWS infrastructure. Overview of this course. This course is designed to help you gain expertise in both AWS and DevOps. You will gain technical expertise on provisioning, operating, and managing distributed application systems on AWS. After completing this course, you will have the necessary knowledge and skills to become a qualified DevOps Pro, and you can ensure that there is speedy delivery of secure compliance systems that are highly available and scalable. Also, after completing this course, you will gain proficiency in all the tools such as AWS Serverless Application, AWS Proton, Resilience Hub, Service Catalog, AWS Private Links, AWS App to Container, Network Firewall, Autoscaling, DocumentDB, and so many others. By learning these skills, you will be able to automate your workflows, managing infrastructure more efficiently, and improve the resilience and fault tolerance of your application. Also, upon completing this course, you will be well prepared for the AWS Certified DevOps Engineer Professional exam. With that said, see you in the next video where I'll go through our first domain in this course, which is SDLC or Software Development Lifecycle Automation.